Ever feel like there's something going on behind the scenes of your daily decisions? From which coffee you grab to the big life purchases? Well, there is. It's a kind of hidden science, and today we're going to pull back that curtain and show you the invisible forces that shape just about everything you do.
So, picture this. You're standing outside two coffee shops. One's got a simple brew for $2, the other a fancy latte for $5. What's that split-second calculation going on in your head? It feels like it's just about taste, right? But what you're actually doing is making a fascinating little economic decision.
And that decision, well, that's what microeconomics is all about. This isn't some dusty old theory from a textbook. No way. It's the science of choice. It zooms way in on the small picture, you, me, and individual companies, and how we all react to things like price changes and why we want the things we want.
So let's start right there, with the basics. Because microeconomics isn't just for Wall Street. It's happening every single time you pull out your wallet.
The entire field of economics, the whole shebang, exists because of one simple universal truth. We can't have it all. We just can't. Our time, our money, our energy, it's all limited. And that forces us to make choices. It forces us to decide what we're going to do and what we have to leave behind.
Okay, so what happens when all of our individual choices crash into the choices of businesses? Well, you get this super dynamic marketplace. The best way to think about it is like a giant, nonstop tug of war between two really powerful forces. What we, the buyers, want, and what they, the sellers, want to sell. So on one side of that rope, you've got us, the consumers, and we all play by a pretty simple rule. It's called the law of demand. It just means that, all else being equal, the more something costs, well, the less of it we're going to buy, right? If that cup of coffee suddenly costs $10, you'd probably think twice. It's just common sense.
And this chart here, it shows that relationship perfectly. This line, sloping down, that's the demand curve. Just follow along with me. When the price is high, way up here, people only want to buy a small amount. But look what happens when the price drops. Suddenly, the quantity people want to buy expands way out. It's simple. Lower price, higher demand.
But hold on, it's not always just about the price of that one thing. Sometimes our whole desire for a product changes. For instance, if you get a raise, you might be willing to buy more coffee at any price. Or, let's say tea, a substitute, suddenly gets crazy expensive. That makes coffee look a lot better, doesn't it? These kinds of things don't just move us along the line, they shift the entire curve left or right. Okay, time to switch sides in our tug of war. Let's look at it from the producer's point of view, the folks selling us the coffee. Their whole motivation is basically the mirror image of ours. And this upward sloping line, that's their rulebook. This is the supply curve. And it makes total sense when you think about it. The higher the price they can get for something, the more of it they're going to want to make and sell. Why? Because a higher price usually means more profit, and that is a very powerful reason to produce more. So, you've got buyers who want prices to be low, and you've got sellers who want prices to be high. How does this tug of war ever get resolved? Well, the market has this really cool, almost automatic way of finding a middle ground. You see this point right here, where the two lines cross? That is the magic spot. It's called equilibrium. It's the one single price where the amount that we, the consumers, want to buy is a perfect match for the amount that producers want to sell. It's the market's sweet spot, the compromise.
You can see this in real life all the time. Think about a local farmer's market. The price of strawberries isn't set in stone. It changes, sometimes daily, to find that exact equilibrium point, making sure all those fresh berries get sold before they go bad. It's the free market doing its thing.
But not all products are the same, are they? A price change for something like gasoline hits us a lot differently than a price change for, say, a movie ticket. And that brings us to this really neat idea called elasticity. Here's the difference. Demand for necessities, like gasoline or medicine, is what we call inelastic. Your demand doesn't really stretch or change much. If the price goes up, you still pretty much have to buy it. But demand for luxuries, think designer clothes or fancy new gadgets, that's elastic. It's flexible. If the price jumps up just a little bit, you might just walk away. And for businesses, this is huge. Just look at this table. A company drops the price on their app by just 5%. A tiny change, right? From $2 down to $1.90. But because the demand was elastic, the number of people who bought it shot up by 20%. And the final result? Look at their total revenue. They made more money by charging less. That's the power of understanding this stuff. So yeah, understanding elasticity is a massive part of business strategy, which brings us perfectly to the other side of the counter. We've talked a lot about our choices as consumers, but what's going on inside the head of a business? What's their main goal? At the end of the day, pretty much every firm is trying to maximize its profit. And the way they do it is by thinking on the margin. That just means they think one item at a time. They're constantly asking, okay, if we make just one more of these, will the extra cash we get from selling it be more than the extra cost of making it? And they keep making more as long as the answer is yes. They stop right at the point where the extra money in, the marginal revenue, equals the extra money out, the marginal cost. That's their profit-maximizing sweet spot.
This table shows you exactly what they're up against. To sell more units, they usually have to lower the price, so the extra money they make from each additional sale, the marginal revenue, gets smaller and smaller. The first sale brings in $10, the second brings in an extra $8, and so on. Now let's pretend it costs them, say, $3 to make each one. Well, they'd make the fourth one because it brings in $4, but they'd stop right there because the fifth one only brings in $2, and that's less than their cost. See? That's how they find the sweet spot.
So, what's the big takeaway here? What does all this give you? Well, you've basically just been handed a new set of glasses, a kind of economic X-ray vision to see the world differently.
You now have the toolkit to really get why you buy what you buy, to understand how the prices you see on tags everywhere get decided. You can see that constant dance between buyers and sellers, and you get the core logic driving every single business.
So here's a little challenge for you. As you go about your day today, try to look for it. Look for that equilibrium, that perfect, invisible balance between what people want and what companies are selling. Now that you know the rules of the game, how many of these market sweet spots can you find out there in the wild?